Jordan Hudson coming up short in the Miss Maine pageant. She's like a fucking movie villain. Look at that face that she's making back there. She always looks like she's up to something.
It is May 12th. We are not talking about North Carolina's upcoming 2025 season. We're not talking about what the quarterback looks like, what the running back looks like, how the team's going to get to maybe 7 or 8 wins next year. No. We're talking about the girlfriend. I think there's, maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse, but also they got to get through this nonsense and get to the other side.
And now a man whose primary care physician is Dr. Johnny Fever. It's Ricky Cobb.
Oh, yeah, and welcome, you sweet bastards. Ronnie, did you see Jordan Hudson coming up short in the Miss Maine pageant? Last year, she was the runner-up. This year, second runner-up, which is third if you're counting at home. Let's take a look here at this. Jordan Hudson, not happy. You can see it on her face in the photos that are out there, coming up short in her bid to become Miss Maine. There she is, Bill Belichick with her, of course. They're inseparable, Ron.
You think the people voting on this were just kind of creeped out by the whole Belichick situation?
I don't know, but look at the look on her face. She's like a movie villain. She's like a mean girl. And I don't know. Maybe she's, you know what I mean? She's like a movie character. Look at that face that she's making back there. She definitely, there's something about her that just comes off as unlikable. Like, I don't trust her. I immediately look at her. Yeah. And I'm just
she's
like,
up to something.
I don't trust her.
She's always got an ulterior motive.
She always looks like she's up to something, Ron.
Yeah.
Is what I'm telling you. So I don't know. I think that, at this point, the best thing to do is I need to bring in OutKick's senior national college football writer, a man who has been following the Bill Belichick, Jordan Hudson episode as closely as anyone I know. Let me welcome to the program now, the great Trey Wallace joins the show. Trey, how are you, brother?
Guys, I'm good. I'm good. Just getting through a crazy weekend, and you know how it is. Stuff never stops in college athletics, and we even had a beauty pageant this weekend. Like, people are talking about beauty pageants in college football. Ricky, what the hell are we doing, bro?
That is a great fucking question, Trey Wallace. I'm not sure what we are doing. What are you hearing, man? We've heard that she was banned from the building. North Carolina didn't waste much time issuing a statement denying the veracity of that report. Where do we stand with this? Is this story ever going to dissipate, or are we going to be riding the Jordan Hudson, Bill Belichick drama train straight on into the season?
So here's the thing, Ricky. When he was, I'm trying to go back and let's see how far we can go back on this thing. There have been conversations regarding Jordan Hudson. I think I got that right, at North Carolina, in regards to what capacity she's in, what she does for Bill Belichick. Everybody remembers 2 months ago, the email chains. You want to be included on email chains and whatnot from school officials talking about Bill Belichick. She's not technically banned from the football facility. I think when you saw that statement from North Carolina, and I've spoken with so many folks, even in North Carolina, over the last 5 to 6 days about this. When you saw that statement come out, if you look at the wording of it, it's actually pretty interesting, because North Carolina is saying, okay, she has nothing to do with us. She's not an employee for us. She works for Bill Belichick. She works for whatever he decides to do in his personal life. That's what she's doing, PR-wise. By the way, it looks like he has hired somebody else to handle his PR as well now. So with this situation, I think that you have to look at it in from a spouse standpoint. It hasn't been handled correctly. There's no reason why Jordan Hudson should be involved in some of the meetings that are going on campus in North Carolina. If Miss Hudson would like to go spend time with the recruits' mothers when they come into town, have at it. That's fine. If that's what spouses do. Miss Terry, Nick Saban's wife, perfect example of that and how she carried herself. But I think at the same time, where we're at right now, folks are agitated inside the facility. Folks are upset. And it's not just inside the football facility. It's the athletic department. It's at North Carolina. They did not expect this when they were hiring Bill Belichick. You have to think about it this way, my man. It is May 12th. We are not talking about North Carolina's upcoming 2025 season. We're not talking about what the quarterback looks like, what the running back looks like, how the team's going to get to maybe 7 or 8 wins next year. No. We're talking about the girlfriend. And by the way, this is not the media's fault for putting this out there and talking about the girlfriend of Bill Belichick. No. This is Bill Belichick's fault. This is Jordan Hudson's fault. They have taken this spotlight. She has, let me rephrase it. She has, like, if you look at the photos from this past weekend at that Miss Maine pageant at a Holiday Inn, probably outside the airport somewhere, and she's sitting there and she's waving to the cameraman and stuff like that as Belichick comes out with her. Like, it's just enough is enough. And I get the attention's there if you're going to seek it. But at the same time, that's not going to fly at North Carolina, Ricky. And AD Bubba Cunningham, I think agitated is probably not the right word to use for it. Probably could say something else about it. But there is nothing they are doing right now that promotes North Carolina football for next season. And by the way, we got spring meetings coming up within the next week for the ACC, meaning if he shows up down there, he's going to be asked questions about that. You can't shy away from it. And then we're going to have media days, Ricky, in July, where they're going to get up there and they're going to talk about the 2025 season. Well, what the hell do you think everybody's going to want to talk about? I know what I would want to talk about. Hey, what about that media firestorm crazy shit that went on for 4.5 months after you took the job? That's the biggest thing that I see right now with North Carolina. And I hate it because while we should be talking about what this team could be next season, and I get it's kind of a slow time in college athletics for some people, they want to put that out there and say maybe that's an excuse. No, it's not an excuse. There is no more offseason in college athletics. We're dealing with house settlement, transfer portal, players getting paid, you name it. We're dealing with it. Schedules coming out and whatnot. There's stuff to talk about. Usually in 5-6 years ago, this was Mount Rushmore time. Oh, what's your Mount Rushmore best quarterbacks for each school? No. The main topic that we are discussing right now is the girlfriend of Bill Belichick. And to me, it's fascinating because they brought this on themselves. This has nothing to do with companies and outlets looking for a story to get through a slow time. No, there's enough shit going on in college athletics that I could be covering right now. But unfortunately, we've got this nonsense going on. And by the way, it is a massive story because it's Bill Belichick. It's fascinating to me to see how this is played out and what North Carolina is going to do, Ricky, from this point on in May until we get to fall camp that's going to start up in August, and how they're going to try to direct attention away from this nonsense and put it on the football team. Fascinating.
Trey, do you think if they could do it over, they would take it back, the hiring of Belichick?
It's crazy you bring that up. I was talking with an agent last week about this. I think that folks inside the administration would have probably handled it a little bit better. You have to remember, like, this was not like, obviously it was a decision by the athletic department at the end. Okay. But this was really kicked off by a few boosters at North Carolina that found out that Bill Belichick would be interested. And they started kicking the can down the road, seeing what we could put together. Then all of a sudden you had North Carolina officials. So you get put into a box. Best way to put it is this. You get put into a box. You got boosters that says, hey, this guy's interested in coming to North Carolina. Why don't you guys do something about it? So what are North Carolina officials going to do? So if you got boosters that are talking to Bill Belichick and his reps and they're getting all this set up and he wants to be the coach of North Carolina, think about the press, the bad press, what I would write, what anybody would write if North Carolina turned down Bill Belichick. That's the other side of this thing. Do I think that they regret it? it's hard to say because of right now, all the talk has been on stuff that's outside of the facility per se. So I think at the same time, yeah, there's probably a little bit of regret, maybe some guardrails that should have been put up, when he got hired. But it's also Bill Belichick, Ricky. He's going to come in here and he's going to run things on the way that he wants to. It's his show. So are you going to tell Bill Belichick that his girlfriend is not allowed at the facility? Are you going to tell Bill Belichick that, hey, look, we're not putting her on any emails. She's not doing any of this. She's not going to be involved whatsoever in your PR and what you're doing. You can't do it. It's Bill Belichick. So I think at the same time, I think there's, maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse, but also they got to get through this nonsense and get to the other side and figure out if they have a football team that can win 8 games next year. And I just think overall, the question I posed this to another coach, what has Bill Belichick done for North Carolina in his first 4.5 months besides give them a little bit of press heading into spring football? How much? Has he sold jerseys? Has he sold merchandise? Sure, they sold some season tickets. Congratulations. It's not hard to sell season tickets when you have Bill Belichick as your head coach. That's easy. Okay. So what are you doing about fundraising? What are you doing about NIL? What are you doing? Those should be the questions. But no, everything is centered around this on the outside. And you got, folks on the North Carolina beat that are sitting around thinking, damn, I would sure like to cover something that happens regarding football. But all we're having to cover right now is what's going on with Jordan Hudson. And I think at the end of the day, I don't think this marriage between North Carolina and Bill Belichick works. I think to me right now, I don't have any other way to spin it, man. I think this is a 1 season and go type of ordeal with Bill Belichick. And if things continue to get out of hand per se, outside of the control of the university, I mean, I don't think he's going to be gone before like the season starts, even though that June 1st date is interesting with the buyout. But I think at the same time, this is a public relations nightmare. And they've done a horrible job trying to rein this thing in.
Well, I can't imagine anybody in Chapel Hill thought that they were going to become fodder for late night comedy shows, but that is the case. And check out this Yahoo that was making fun of the situation on Jimmy Fallon on Saturday night.
Ricky, what does it say about her that Bill Belichick could manage Aaron Hernandez in the locker room? A murderer, but not her.
Look, Bill's the first guy who ever robbed the cradle and came back with an overbearing stepmother. Yeah. This is not what he was going for. Pretty clearly.
It's never a good situation when you've got me on TV making fun of your program at night. I will say to our audience, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, because those are the kinds of moments that you're going to get here on this program. Hard-hitting analysis from an expert like Trey Wallace, and then stupid shit from an idiot like me. Trey, let's talk about the bigger landscape here in college football. As you mentioned earlier, we're waiting on this House settlement. You got Donald Trump weighing in, talking about the possibility of an executive order of some type, and Nick Saban enlisted to take a look at things. All the issues that we have discussed throughout various appearances that you've made on the program, and that are still, lingering over college, not only college football, but college sports, period, right now. What kind of clarity do you think that we might get on some of these issues? And will it happen anytime in the near future?
Yeah, I think that's where we get it. College athletics, man, is taking a turn for the crazy because you got the federal government that's now wanting to try to get involved with what we're doing. It's like, did you expect this 5 years ago when Nick Saban is taking a shot at Jimbo Fisher, and then Jimbo Fisher holds a press conference the next day to go attack Nick Saban for saying that he bought his entire roster, and then he threw out somebody named Sliced Bread, in the press conference? Like, that's where we've come from 5 years ago with that. And it was around this time 5 years ago that we were dealing with this, with Nick Saban when he made his comments, to where we are right now, where Nick Saban is going to be on an executive commission study panel, however the hell you would like to put it, to discuss how to fix college athletics with Tommy Tuberville involved. And you got Cody Campbell, who's a billionaire. He co-founded the Texas Tech NIL fund, Ricky. He made $4.1 billion about 5 months ago, so I think he's got time to spend. I think right now what they're going to try to do is they're going to sit down at a table, and there's probably going to be about 10 of them in total. They're going to try to come up with ideas to save the NCAA's ass from getting sued every time that they turn around when it comes to antitrust and whatnot and how much players can make. But my biggest gripe is they set this up 5 years ago. Don't try. It was your fault you didn't set the rules up when this started. You just put out, okay, NIL's cool. Cool, man. They're going to go get sponsorships and deals. No, man. It was always pay for play. It was always how much are we going to give one certain player to come to our school. So now you look at it and they're like, oh my gosh, we need Congress to step in. We need help. It's like, stop, man. And this is just my opinion here. The federal government has got more to worry about than what is going on in college athletics and how much a 19-year-old kid is making on a football roster. I'm sorry. There's more shit that's more important, in my opinion. Fix what's going on across the world. Fix what's going on in our country. The NCAA, sorry, man, you got to take a backseat to this. We got more important stuff to worry about. But now what you're doing is with Donald Trump, and it's smart, by the way, by getting Nick Saban involved in this thing. And Nick Saban can kind of head this thing up if he wants to. And that's where we're headed. He's going to be a co-chair of this commission. And they're going to sit around and they're going to try to put these rules together. And they're going to say, okay, everybody has to have a level playing field. Okay, that's easy to say. Everybody's going to have to spend $20.3 million a year in revenue sharing, Ricky, because that's what it is. It's going to be about $20.3 million, and then you can spread that out to all the sports on campus. Well, football is going to get a majority of it. Then you're going to have basketball and baseball, women's basketball as well. But then at the same time, it feels like what we're about to see is you're about to go back to the old days. And when I say the old days, I'm talking about, okay, bags outside the front doorstep, meeting at the hotel parking lot at 10 o'clock at night, to drop off some cash. Because one thing that people are forgetting here, the NIL deals that we see right now and whatnot, in this new era, anything over $600, any deal over $600 has to be cleared by a committee in a clearinghouse, and then they can go about and say, okay, we can handle this. Come on, man. Do you honestly think that these players are not going to be getting paid somewhat underneath the table, per se, now going forward? Because here's the biggest thing, Ricky. If a school can only afford to pay, let's just say the football team gets $16 million to spend. Okay, well, you got to give the quarterback, $3, $4, $5 million, however much. But the school can't pay for that whole contract. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to go to the boosters and say, hey, guys, I need you to pick up the tab on the extra $2 million that we got laying around. Can you guys handle this somehow? Okay, well, how do you think they're going to handle it? You can't do these NIL deals, if they're $600 or more. So it's going to go to the back doorway again. I just think with what we're trying to do right now with this commission study and this federal nonsense, I think at the end of the day, if they don't figure out a way to quote unquote set up an equal playing field with this, we are going to continue having problems. You're going to have people bitching and complaining about how much money these kids make. And then, by the way, you know what? These kids should have been making money for the last 30 to 40 years. It's not the kids' fault and the players' fault that y'all just got around to saying, okay, we're good with y'all making money now. No, they've been making money for your school for decades. So don't put it on the players. Don't try to take money out of the players' pockets now with these fat contracts going around in college athletics for television and marketing deals and ticket sales. And they're raising prices every single week, for season tickets in the upcoming year. But then a school wants to put together a shitty schedule, and then they still want the consumer to pay for it. What I'm getting at is that we're about to hit a fork in the road here. We're about to go one way, or it continues just absolutely being crazy, which, okay, cool. We've dealt with it for the last 5 years. Or you're going to find a way to kind of reel this thing in a little bit and say everybody's got to play at this level, and then it's a free-for-all kind of next. Because they can't control everything, Ricky, and they know that. So I don't know what Donald Trump is going to be able, and I mean that with no disrespect. I'm just being honest. I have no idea what Donald Trump is going to be able to sign an executive order that's going to be able to control what's going on in college athletics. I don't.
Well, the one thing that never changes, no matter how much everything else changes, is the NCAA is always fucked up in some form or fashion. Trey, and Ronnie said it last week on this show. The best Trey Wallace is fired up Trey Wallace, and you were throwing fastball today, brother. Love it as always. Thank you so much for the wisdom. We appreciate you.
Buddy, y'all have a great week. Thanks for having me. We'll talk again soon.
You know that the WNBA season is around the corner because the ladies of the WNBA are making news, and A'ja Wilson, the 3-time and reigning WNBA MVP, asked her thoughts about why Caitlin Clark is so popular and A'ja Wilson is still pretty much an unknown to the overall American public. Clay Travis referencing it in a tweet. Let's take a look at what Clay tweeted out. Front page article in the New York Times today. A'ja Wilson saying the reason that she isn't marketable, this is a quote directly from A'ja, it's 100% about race. Clay saying if only black athletes could finally overcome racism and get marketing deals. I'm really tired of the obsession over Caitlin Clark's race. I will say that the fact that she is white does not hurt her marketability. I'm not blind to that. But to suggest that that is the primary overriding reason for why Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon and why other WNBA players are not, I find it to be ridiculous. Breanna Stewart. How much do you know about Breanna Stewart? I'm going to tell you a little bit about Breanna Stewart. She went to UConn, played for Gino Auriemma, where she won 4 national championships in 4 years, where she was the most outstanding player of the NCAA tournament all 4 times. 3-time Naismith Player of the Year, got drafted, went to the WNBA, where she has won 2 MVPs, 3 championships, and was the finals MVP twice. I want you to think about that resume. And now consider the fact that the average American could not identify her in a police lineup. She might as well be in the witness protection program. And oh, by the way, Breanna Stewart, for the purposes of this conversation, it is worth noting, is white. Diana Taurasi, 6-time Olympic champion, 3-time NCAA champion, 2 times the most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament, 2 Naismith Awards, 3-time champion in the WNBA, an MVP, 2 times final MVP. Diana Taurasi also, for the purposes of this specific conversation, white. Didn't move the needle. Nobody gave a fuck about their whiteness. Nobody was interested. And Taurasi and Stewart are arguably the 2 most decorated, maybe not even arguably, they are the 2 most decorated female basketball players of this century. Neither one of them moved the needle any more than A'ja Wilson, who is also an outstanding player. As I said, 3-time MVP. But to suggest that race only became a factor when Caitlin Clark came along, please explain that to me. Breanna Stewart did more in terms of championships. She got 7 championships between college and pro. An entire wheelbarrow full of MVPs and honors and awards. Nobody cared. The reason that Caitlin Clark is so popular, the primary reason, 90% of the equation is in this. Caitlin Clark plays basketball unlike any other woman we've ever seen before. Period. Breanna Stewart, if it was about whiteness, Well, there's an unbelievable white player. American public yawned and scratched its nuts. Didn't give a fuck. Diana Taurasi, look at everything she's done. Unbelievable, the accomplishments that she has. America yawned. Didn't care. It's not about the race. It's not about that. And if you don't believe me when you look at it in that context, let's look at men's basketball. Who were the most popular basketball players of the 1960s? A time when we were going through the Civil Rights Act, a time when Martin Luther King was leading a movement towards justice and equality for people in the Jim Crow South. When they were marching in Selma, when everything was going on. He was assassinated. Medgar Evers lost his life. We're talking about a time of huge racial division in this country. Most popular basketball players in the NBA were Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. 1970s, Dr. J. 1980s, Larry and Magic. They were a package deal. Ebony and Ivory. And then Michael Jordan came along, and Michael Jordan became the most marketable athlete in the history of sports. 40 years ago, Air Jordans changed everything about the culture of advertising and athletics in this country. Michael Jordan didn't have any problems because he was an exceptional athlete and people embraced him. Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, Steph Curry. On down the line we go. Black male basketball players have not had any trouble breaking through and becoming incredibly popular. Why would the racism only be limited to the women's game? Does that make sense to you? I'm not denying there's racism out there. Of course there's racism in society. Of course there are idiots whose opinions are colored by the color of someone's skin. But if you think in 2025 that race is the prevailing factor in why anyone is popular or unpopular in professional sports, amateur sports, or anything else, I would say that you are completely off base. Caitlin Clark got my attention. I am a great anecdotal example of Caitlin Clark's popularity, because I can promise you, in my 51 years on this earth, before I saw Caitlin Clark drain a 30-footer from a logo, I had no shits to give about women's basketball whatsoever. I remember when Ann Myers got drafted by the Indiana Pacers in the late 1970s, back when the NBA draft was eight or nine rounds. Okay, and they did that for publicity. I remember Nancy Lieberman. I remember a lot of great players through the years in women's basketball, the names. Never once, white or black, did I give a shit about watching. Nancy Lieberman was white. How much did she? Some people say she's the GOAT, right? Well, wasn't the world more racist 40 or 50 years ago than it is today? I would argue that it is, regardless of what you see on social media now. Everything is amplified on social media. But I would submit to you the world was a more racist place 40 or 50 years ago. The best player was a white woman, and nobody gave a flying fuck about women's basketball. And nobody would give a flying fuck today if Caitlin Clark hadn't come along and played the way that she did. I've said it before. It was like a needle moving across a record. You see her pull up, drain a 30-footer, and you're like, wait a minute, what woman does that? I've never seen a woman do that before, and I wanted to see it again. And then it turns out it wasn't just a one-off. She was doing it 5, 6, 7 times a game. And I'm like, holy shit, that wasn't a fluke? You mean she goes out there and she does that every night? And then you see her pass. And you're like, holy shit, I said she's Larry Bird with a vagina. Which admittedly is a horrifying thought. I'm sorry, Caitlin. You're more attractive than Larry. I didn't mean it that way. But the overall game, and you're like, my God, this woman is just a joy to watch. And I don't want to sound like a misogynist, but you want to know the truth? You know why she's such a joy to watch? Because she doesn't play like a woman. And that's the truth. And that's why she captured everybody's attention. And that's why everyone became enamored with her. Are there a handful of people out there who are extra joyful about it because she's white? I'm sure there are. There are those people in the world. Does that explain Caitlin Clark-a-mania? Not in the slightest. She plays the game unlike any other woman that we've ever seen. Right. Cicadas. You know what a cicada is? I don't know. They're loud.
They make a lot of noise.
That hibernate for years. Yes. And every 17 years, I guess there's different types of cicadas.
There's 13
I'm not
and
a fucking
17.
Cicada expert. Okay. Sounds like a marriage in Kentucky, Ron. It's 13 and 17. My parents were 15 and 20. If it wasn't for statutory, I wouldn't be here, Ron, if we're being quite honest.
Oh,
although I don't know if Kentucky even had the
Tim, don't let your daughter see this part.
statutes in 1963. They already know.
Your son
My
go.
mom got married. My mom dropped out of high school and got married when she was 15. My dad was 20. So
and here we have it.
thanks for being a perv, Dad. I appreciate the gift of life. What can I tell you? So these cicadas are coming out, and I guess we're being told they're horny.
Super horny
is the thing. Super horny zombie insects. So when you're hearing like
what
all
would
of
you
the
do
loud
if you didn't get
sounds,
any for 17 years?
They're probably doing it. Graduate high school, Ron, is the answer to that. That's an actual just historical fact from my life. I know the answer to that.
Ron, you need air?
I graduated
was waiting
high
for,
school.
Ron didn't exhale there. Oh, good Lord. Thought we were going to have to call the paramedics for you on that one.
That'd be so funny if I just
Ron gonna be all right. Okay. Well,
Ricky, you'd have to text Tyler because you have Tyler's number. You don't have Lori, so you'd have to text Tyler. Tyler would have to text Lori, and then Lori'd run up here and revive me.
There's a whole chain that we have to go through to get you help while a horrified America watches you struggle for life, Ron. But yeah, that's how that went down, Ronnie.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.